All right, guys, we're back. Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy CMB checking in. And look here, guys, there hasn't been a whole lot going on in the sport of boxing that I've really been particularly excited about. And I think a lot of that stems from us having so much young talent right now in the sport. And instead of these guys fighting, they're on Twitter, they're on social media, they're beefing back and forth, they're saying that they want to fight each other. But these fights are not being made. And, I do play into this stuff sometime. I make the videos on the guys, jaw jacking one another because it's fun. And I do this as a hobby. I do it for fun. This is not my full time gig or anything. But sometimes, I'm just like you guys. I get kind of tired of stuff like that, and I want to see the best competition fight the best. I just want to see the best fights being made in the sport of boxing. And that's why I've been so disillusioned by the sport, even though we have a huge crop of talent. Now, I will admit there's a few things that, I am excited about. I would say I'm excited about Errol Spence Jr.'s return. I'm looking forward to that. Him and Tim Zoo. I'm somewhat looking forward to Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury getting it on. I'll get into that on a later date. And one thing that I'm extremely excited about is the return of Dmitry Bivol. Now, Dmitry Bivol is set to return to the ring. I think it's May 30th, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. He's fighting in Russia. He's fighting a guy named Michael Eifert, who is 13-1. I think he's a German fighter. I'm not really familiar with him. So, it's not a fight where I'm excited about the fight per se, because I look at it as a tune-up fight for Dmitry Bivol, who's been out of the ring for a minute. You guys know he had back surgery. So this is a fight, I would say, to get him acclimated back to the sport. You guys know right now he is a 3-belt champion. He was the former undisputed champion at lightweight. I think he was stripped of the WBC, but he did win. He won the undisputed championship after he defeated Artur Beterbiev in that second fight. Now, me personally, I thought he should have won the first fight, but it is what it is. Now, I'm excited because I'm a big fan of Bivol, and I'll say that because I like pure boxing. I'm one of those guys. I might be a little different from some people. Some people like the guys who come straight ahead. They like the knockout artists, and there's always a place for that. I do like that, but I'm always more fascinated by the guys with the superior skill sets. Guys like Bivol, guys like Crawford, guys like Shakur Stevenson. These guys, well, we can take Crawford out of the equation because Crawford will knock you out. But, we don't see Shakur Stevenson knocking out a lot of people. We don't see Bivol knocking out a lot of people. We don't see guys like Devin Haney knocking out a lot of people. But they do have tremendous skill sets. And like I said, that always fascinates me. And that's what I'm more excited about, him returning to the ring, seeing if he's still that guy. And honestly, I believe that Dmitry Bivol is one of those guys who's been overlooked. I think he's one of those guys that didn't really get his just due, even though he defeated the face of boxing, Canelo Alvarez. He was the second person to ever get his hands raised against Canelo Alvarez, since, the Mayweather fight. And I thought, that would shoot him up into superstardom. But it just really didn't happen that way. And there were a lot of excuses being made after Canelo lost the fight. A lot of people were saying that, Canelo was daring to be great, and he went up and Dmitry Bivol was too big. And I just scoff at that because we already know Canelo had already fought at that weight class. He defeated Sergey Kovalev, and he became, a champion in that division before. So using the excuse that Dmitry Bivol was a bigger fighter, in my opinion, that was just a cop-out. And the reason I thought that Canelo lost that fight is because of something that fascinates me. Like I've been saying, is skill sets. Pure boxer. You guys know that Canelo Alvarez has always had issues with fighters who have great footwork, fighters who can move a lot, fast hands, good counterpunchers. That's been his Achilles heel. And that's how I knew going into the fight with Crawford which a lot of you guys said that Crawford would lose that fight. I knew that Crawford would more than likely get his hands raised because of the superior skill set, because of the pure boxing skills that he possesses. And this is, this is why, like I said, I gravitate towards these guys, because these guys know how to make certain adjustments. If they're fighting a guy who's a brawler, who's going to come straight ahead, a guy with heavy hands, there's always adjustments that they can make. They're not going to have a one-dimensional fight. They're going to be able to make adjustments on the fly. Now, the thing that bothers me, I would say, about this Bivol fight is saying here, I'm looking on Box News, Boxing News 24, and it's saying that Dmitry Bivol will defend his WBA and IBF light heavyweight titles on May 30th, but his WBO belt will not be at stake. The WBO confirmed it will not sanction the fight, and don't let me mess this up, guys. If I mess it up, forgive me. Yekaterinburg, which is a city in Russia, so they're not sanctioning that fight. It says the WBO has declined to sanction the fight in Yekaterinburg, Russia, citing the ongoing conflict with Ukraine. So since we have the altercation with Ukraine, well, the war with Ukraine and Russia, the WBO will not sanction that fight since it's taking place in Russia. But they're not stripping Dmitry Bivol of the belt. They're just not going to be a part of the fight. So let's say Bivol loses the fight. What's the guy? Efert. He'll get the other two belts, but Bivol will be able to keep that WBO belt. So, I don't like it. I don't like the fact that politics are getting involved in the sport of boxing. I don't think that Bivol should be penalized for something like that. It's sports. They're not at war with each other per se. And that kind of bothers me with that situation. But I'm still excited that he's coming back. And I know a lot of people are pushing for a third fight with Artur Beterbiev. But personally, I would like to see Bivol and Canelo Alvarez run it back. That's something that, I had high hopes for. I don't know how Canelo feels about that, if he's ever going to fight at 175 again. I don't know if Bivol will be willing to come down to 168 to fight him. Right now, Canelo doesn't really offer anything. He doesn't hold any titles. So I guess we'll have to see about that. But I'm interested in seeing what Bivol looks like after surgery. Is he still that same guy? That's the question. Is he still that great pure boxer? Will he still have that great footwork that he's known for? The fast hands, the counter-punching ability? We'll see. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because, Bivol is one of the guys that I hold in high regards in the sport of boxing. But anyway, you guys let me know how you feel about the return of Dmitry Bivol. How do you think he'll be now that he's, after surgery? Do you think he's still that guy? How do you feel about the fact that the WBO will not sanction the fight because it's in Russia? You guys let me know about that in the comment section. It's the CMB. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. And I'm out. Peace.